Hello and good evening, everyone. Welcome to our LinguaTech Europe Academy's webinar series. This is the second webinar that we are organizing as part of a multi-series of webinars in this project. Before moving forward, I see that people keep coming. I would like to remind you all that if you want to receive a certificate, please write your full names on the screen and your names will appear as such in the certificates as well. And if you have already participated in the first webinar series, you will receive your certificate shortly from us. That being said, I am Associate Professor Dr. Osman Solmaz, an applied linguist and teacher educator from Dicle University in southeastern Turkey. I am the coordinator of LiTE Academy project, and LiTE Academy is an Erasmus Plus Teacher Academy project which is supported by European Cultural Agency in Brussels. What we are aiming here is that we want to develop the capacities of foreign language teachers across Europe and beyond. Our goal is particularly helping them with developing their capacities and practices of digital, inclusive, and multilingual pedagogies, which we call DIMS. And today, as you will see, we are starting with the digital part. We are 8 partner institutions from 5 different countries, including Turkey, Norway, Spain, Portugal, and Germany. As you see the names of the universities, we have multiple institutions from Turkey and Spain, as well as institutions from Germany, Portugal, and Norway. We are very happy that we are organizing this, and as part of our project, we have these webinars organized as part of professional development series. So the next webinar will come up later in 2 weeks, but we will give more information towards the end. And I would like to move forward and introduce our speakers for today. We have Dr. Francisco Palacios-Hidalgo from Universidad de Córdoba, España, and Dr. Tuncer from İstanbul Universitesi-Cerrahpaşa, Turkey. And they will be running us through with their talk titled Teaching Languages in the Digital Age, Designing and Engaging Technology-Enhanced Classrooms. Dear colleagues, the stage is yours, please.
Thank you very much, Osman. Hello, everybody, and welcome again. So, as Professor Osman Solmaz has said, my name is Francisco Javier Palacios-Hidalgo, and together with my colleague Tuncer, we will present you over the next 45 to 60 minutes this module that we have developed as part of LiTE Academy, and we will basically explore how to move beyond using technology for the sake of technology, instead designing language classrooms where digital tools really supports interaction, multimodality, and learning autonomy. So let me now show you the structure of today's session. So this is basically our agenda for today. So first we will start with a theoretical foundation. Basically, we will discuss why technology-enhanced language learning matters, and also the key principles that guide effective design and implementation. Then we will move into the module that we have developed as part of LiTE Academy, including a detailed look at the 5 units. After that, we will open feedback and reflection with 2 open-ended questions, basically to help you connect these ideas to your own classrooms. And finally, we will have a Q&A session where you can ask anything about the module, the tools, or the theory. So let us begin with the theory. So we need to start with a principle, and it's basically that technology alone does not teach language. So it's basically people, basically us teachers, who teach the language. So technology is actually simply the environment where interaction is going to happen among students and also between students and us teachers. So our job is not to collect applications or digital resources, but actually to design these interactions. And let me give you three reasons why this is important. So the first reason is that this is not about throwing away what already works, what we already know that works, but it's actually about expanding possibilities. So in a traditional classroom, the teacher is basically the main source of language, is basically the person who transmits the knowledge, who corrects mistakes, who gives feedback, and basically the one who has the authority. But on the other hand, in a technology-enhanced classroom, learners interact with authentic texts. They also interact with each other, with feedback tools, and basically with their own produced output. So the teacher becomes more a designer of experiences rather than a person who transmits the rules. This is the second reason. And this is from Karl Chappell, who's a key researcher in the field of digital pedagogies. So these six criteria should be our filter as teachers. So before we add any tool to a lesson, we need to ask ourselves, does it meet at least three of these six criteria? For example, if we're going to use a flashcard application, do we really know if this is going to meet the learner fit and the practicality? Is it going to be like appropriate according to their level, their age, or their needs? This may be possible depending on this type of application, but we also need to ask questions like, does it meet meaning focus? I mean, are learners paying attention to meaning and not just form? I mean, depending on the application, this may be possible, but in reality, if we only like include an application, as I said before, like a flashcard application, this may not happen because in this context, students may only be like memorizing words in isolation. So you would need to add a meaningful task around these flashcards, for example, or the tool that we decide to use. And here's reason three, and these three pillars that you can see on the screen come from decades of research. So interaction here means using, for example, breakout sessions, shared documents, or forums for real communication and not just clicking answers. Then we have multimodality, which recognizes that language is never just words, because whenever we speak in a classroom or outside the classroom, we also use tone, gesture, image, for example, and also the layout. And actually, digital tools let students practice all of that at once. And finally, we have learner autonomy, which means giving students control over when, why, how, and what they practice. So it's basically providing with a tool with which they can choose, with which they can show their autonomy and choose what they want to do and how they want to do it. So when technology becomes like a routine, like a pen or a whiteboard that we normally use in a classroom, this is when we call it normalization. So this is what you can take from the theory section of this webinar. So before you leave today, you don't really need to remember every piece of information we're going to share with you. Just remember these three questions. The first one is, will learners communicate with real people and not just a screen? The second one is, will your learners produce or interpret the language through more than one mode, like for example, using images or using other modes of language? And finally, you should also wonder if learners are going to make meaningful choices during the task. So you need to ask these three questions every time you plan a lesson using technology. And if you can say yes to at least two of these three questions, you should redesign your task before actually using or adding technology. So in the next part of the webinar, we will show you a teacher training module that puts these three pillars into practice, which is basically the digital module that we have designed as part of LiTE Academy. All right, now that we've laid the theoretical foundation of this webinar, and as I've said before, we want to show you exactly how these principles translate into an actual teacher training course. So this is the module focused on digital pedagogy that we have developed. And I must say that it is not a course or a module about tools, but actually a course or a module about the pedagogical design using technology. So let me show you its overall structure. So the module has 5 units, as all of the other modules you will see in the following webinars. So unit 1 is called building critical digital literacies, and here teachers are going to learn to ask questions, critical questions about any tool, like for example, what data does it collect or who benefits, and this is like the ethical filter of implementing technology in language education. Then we have unit 2. Which is called Designing and Implementing Digital Resources, and it basically explains how to start how we need to start with a language tool, and then what we need to do is basically choosing the tool or creating the application or the resource, the digital resource that we want to use, and not the other way around. Then we have unit 3, which is designing multilingual and inclusive digital learning, and this is about how to make digital tasks work for different levels, languages, and also access situations, which is basically multimodality and learner fit. Then unit 4 is digital assessment, basically how we can assess in language education using technology. And finally, we have unit 5, which is integration, reflection, and capstone project, where the idea is for teachers to work on a final project connecting all the ideas from the previous 4 units. So as you can see, no unit is called digital tools because the focus is never on the tools, but as I said before, on the pedagogical design using these tools in language education. So let me show you the first unit of the module, which is building critical digital literacies. And this unit basically answers one central question, as you can see on the screen, which is, what does it mean to be critically literate in digital learning, language classroom? So notice that I said literate and not digitally literate. I mean, critically literate and not digitally literate, because as I said before, technology, and as we probably know, technology is more than just clicking a button or maybe uploading a file. It is more than that, and we are seeing that every day. So the unit covers these 5 core topics that you can see. So first, it moves teachers from basic digital literacy to critical digital literacies, which means asking who benefits from a tool, what data it collects, as I said before, and also whose interests the design of the tool or the resource serves. Then in the second part, the module introduces multimodality and new literacies, which is basically how language learners now need to work with image, sound, text, and the layout all at once, as I said before, which is also a very important part of digital pedagogy, using technology for teaching and learning. Then in the third part of the module, it tackles digital privacy, also safeguarding and algorithmic bias, because as we probably all know, AI tools are never neutral. Then the fourth part presents technology-mediated task-based language teaching, where authentic digital problem-solving drives learning and not just the use of, for example, digital worksheets, we could say. And finally, the fifth part addresses digital well-being and learner agency, which is basically how, for example, anxiety and cognitive overload may affect real students. So all of this is framed within or via the TPAC model. I don't know if you are familiar with it, but as you can see on the slide, this model basically focuses on the intersection of technology, pedagogy, and content, and how these three ideas are somehow aligned and important for teachers when using technology in their classroom. So what do teachers actually do in this first unit? So first, they start with a set of self-assessment statements, which are not graded, but actually designed for them to reflect on their initial assumptions. So for example, one statement is, the one I'm quoting now, is automated writing feedback tools are neutral and can be trusted without critical teacher review. Obviously, the answer here would be, the ideal answer would be disagree. But the idea is that teachers need to mark agree or disagree, and then they will revisit the same statements at the end of the unit to see if their thinking, if their opinions have changed thanks to the content and the activities they have done. Then they engage with the conceptual content of the module, which are basically the key ideas I just showed you before, but also always illustrated with concrete classroom examples, because the idea is not just giving abstract theory, but actually giving them like practical examples on how to implement these in the classroom. Then there is a forum task, which in this case is optional. So you can see forum task 1.1. And in this case, in the case of this unit, this is a tool audit where teachers are going to read a scenario about a teacher who uses AI for assessing the writings of the students. So basically, teachers need to analyze the scenario using three lenses, which are the TPAC model, the technology, pedagogical content model, but also ethics and task-based design. So the goal is not to find like a right answer to the scenario they are like engaging with, but actually to practice asking critical questions about the use of technology. After that, there is also a self-assessment quiz, but in this case, we include the answer key so that teachers can check their understanding on their own. And then we include another foreign task, but this one is actually required. This is like compulsory for finishing the module. And in this case, I will show you this specific task in a minute. And finally, there is always a video summary of the unit for those users of the module who prefer to listen and revise all the content. So as you can see, this unit does not tell teachers what to think, but actually gives them frameworks, scenarios, and also structured reflection activities so that they can build their own critical digital literacies and then obviously bring them to their students. So now I want to highlight the required task of these units, as I said before, because it is where everything comes together. So this is forum task 1.2, which is basically a professional reflection. So look at the image that you can see on this slide. We basically have a bubble, like a chat bubble or a dialogue bubble, and we also have a post-it. And these two images basically represent exactly what we want teachers to do in this activity, which is basically to talk to each other about the real classrooms. And this is how it works. So in the first steps, they basically need to write a short post on the forum, something like 3 to 5 sentences, no longer than that. And they need to choose one of these two prompts that you can see on this slide. So the first one asks them to think of a digital tool or a digital activity that they have used in their experience. And then they need to reflect on their potential for students. They need to ask questions like, was it really supporting my students? Or did it just make, like, for example, an old worksheet something more digital? And also in what ways they could like improve the use of this digital activity. And the second prompt asks them to recall a situation in which an automated tool, for example, or something more like an online platform, affected somehow the way a learner participated or felt in their classroom. And they also need to ask or to wonder whether these situations revealed differences, for example, between using technology or integrating this technology more critically. So once they have like posted this post, they need to go to step 2, which is basically responding to one of their colleagues' story, and they basically need to say whether they find it interesting or something more relatable, or if there's a connection to their experience or to their own context. So the idea, as you can see at the bottom of this slide, is that reflection without action is just thinking. An action without reflection is just busy, but the task here is where theory becomes your own. So basically, this task is not busy work, but it's actually the moment where the criteria, the 3 pillars that we have discussed before, and also the TPAC framework becomes like a living conversation about what actually happens in a classroom, for example, on a Monday morning. So to recap, the optional task in Unit 1, which is the tool audit that I mentioned before, and also this required professional reflection, are both designed for teachers to make critical digital literacies something actionable, we could say. Let me now show you Unit 2, which is the title is Designing and Implementing Digital Resources. So look at the image that you also have in this slide, which is in this case is a compass. And this image captures the central question of the unit, which is how do I choose or create a digital resource that actually serves my learning goal and not the other way around? So the Unit 2 also has 5 core topics similar to Unit 1. So first, teachers who use this unit of the digital module are going to explore how to select and create multimodal materials. Then they will explore immersive tools like, for example, virtual reality, augmented reality, and also mixed reality. Then in the third part of the unit, they will explore how to design AI-enhanced instructional resources. Also reflecting on how to use generative AI as a pedagogical assistant and not just a replacement of our work as teachers. Then in the fourth part, they are presented with a practical prompting formula, which is the role, task, audience, details, and format formula. We will discuss this a little bit later. And fifth, the teachers review checklist, which is basically a checklist in which they can reflect on accuracy, appropriateness, comprehensibility, fairness, and also data safety, whose idea is basically understanding that AI drafts and the teacher is the one who decides. So the key principle of Unit 2 is pedagogy, as you can see here, pedagogy before pixels. And the idea is that you need to start with learning, with the learning job and not the tool. I mean, not the other way around. So the important thing is that setting the goals you want to achieve with the activity and then deciding the appropriate tool you want to use for facilitating that learning process. So what do teachers actually do in this unit? So again, they start with self-assessment statements again. For example, one that we have included in this unit is when selecting a digital tool, the starting point should be the learning goal, not the features of the tools. So basically, they need to say whether they agree or disagree. Then they will engage with interactive conceptual content, like the theory behind the unit. But here, the content is organized around specific tools, as you can see on the screen. So we're going to talk about Genially, also Canva, Nearpod, TWE, Padlet, and CoSpaces Edu. But the tool or each of these tools are presented through its pedagogical affordances, the benefits they have for students. and not actually like giving a list of characteristics of these tools, because the idea is for teachers to understand what you can actually do for your students when you use each of these applications or resources. Then we again have an optional forum task where teachers are going to explore a real resource, choose one activity from these resources, and then work through it as a learner, basically analyzing its potential or maybe its deficiencies, we could say. After that, again, self-assessment quiz. And finally, the required task, which is another professional reflection, but in this case is focused on designing using AI, which is very practical because teachers think, they need to think of real materials designed activities they have to do, and then write a prompt using the role, task, audience details, and format formula. They also need to check their accuracy, appropriateness, comprehensibility, fairness, and data safety of the output they receive when they use that prompt. And then they need to post a short reflection on what the AI did good and what needs to be revised by their by their own as teachers. And finally, again, they also have a video summary of the unit. So what I love about this unit is that teachers leave not just with concepts, but with a usable process, which is basically the prompting formula and also the review checklist that they can apply the very next day when they finish this unit. So I want to zoom in on one practical tool from this unit that we think is quite interesting, which is the prompting formula that I mentioned before, the role, task, audience, details, and format formula. So look at this slide. Generative AI is powerful, but we can also say it is lazy, because if you give AI a vague prompt, the result is also going to be vague. So what we propose in this module is the use of this formula to create your own prompts. So the first element is role, which basically tells the AI who to be, like if it's like a Spanish teacher or maybe a teacher of French for students living in a very specific context. Then we also have tasks, which basically states exactly what you want the AI to do. Like, for example, I want the AI to create a dialogue, or maybe I want it to adapt a text that I'm going to use with my students. Then the audience part of the formula basically specifies who the material is going to be for. Like, for example, the age of the students, the level, or also the context where you're going to implement the activity. Then we have details, which add the pedagogical specifics of the activity that you want to get from the AI. Like, for example, the specific vocabulary range, grammar points, for example, or also the cultural side of the activity. And finally, we have format, which is the way in which you need to tell the AI how to present the output. For example, if you want a script, if you want a dialogue, or if you want like something more visual, let's say. So teachers in this unit practice this formula in the task, in the compulsory task that I mentioned before. So what they need to do is to try it on a real task, thinking of their own classroom. So this is the idea behind this activity. So next, we're going to move to Unit 3, and for this part, I will give the floor to my colleague Tuncer. So whenever you want, I can.
May I share my screen? Thank you.
Yeah.
So I believe I'm visible with my screen now, and continue with the Unit 3. in our module, in our first module. But what I would like to remind you first, since this is the unit 3, where we are putting digital technologies with multilingual and inclusive concepts, because the idea of LiTE Academy anyway is about basically recognizing the multilingual nature of our classes with, of course, the ever-evolving inclusive aspect, which now, after 20 years of 21st century, digital, they need to meet the digital as well. Because since the COVID, digital has overtaken all of these concepts, all of these beautiful former concepts that we have had throughout our careers. I would only like to remind you of a couple of things that Fran already said, my colleague Fran already said about the digital. He mentioned that digital is not the ultimate aim in itself. What is the ultimate aim is basically pedagogy. And it is because it all starts with the pedagogy. We are using technologies, and in the last 20 years, 26 years, you're aware of this, all of us language teachers. What's happening is technologies are constantly changing. Every 10 years, we receive new technologies, but multilingualism and inclusiveness, they do not change at all. They change in the concept of new technologies naturally. And we are trying to use those new coming technologies, and we try to embrace them in the context of multilingualism and, of course, inclusive learning. So in this context, this is what we are doing basically in Unit 3. We are putting all of these together. And I should also remind you that this is only the first module that we are basically offering as part of the LiTE project, LiTE Academy project. And the next two modules will be one dedicated to specifically multilingualism and how multilingualism goes into the classes, or how this concept is related to what we are doing in our foreign language learning classes, as well as the third one is going to be about inclusive learning and inclusive education. And so what we are doing basically here is we are putting all of these together in this unit, because we want all of the teachers to understand the relationship between pedagogy and the use of technologies, and of course digital technologies these days, towards teaching in multilingual classrooms for inclusive purposes. So this is the first thing that we are offering in this unit, of course. And then we are continuing with how multilingualism can be used as a repertoire in the digital environments that we have today. Even if you're teaching a simple class, you would most probably have a smart board, which means that you're basically digitalizing the previous good old technology that we call books or course books. So we are digitalizing all of these basically within the classes. Even if you're using a good old projector, then this means that you're also using digital content, and then this is inevitable in today's classroom. So this is what we are dealing second in this unit. And then we would have, of course, inclusive digital communication and inclusive digital aspect within today's learning environments, because since everything is becoming more digital, the course books are becoming more digital, tools are becoming, and as my colleague Fran already suggested, that we are using lots of digital tools in the classrooms today. Even if let me just give you an example. Today I had to miss a class because of a conference, and what I did, I digitalized my class because I already had my videos on what I was going to do face to face in my class. I put it onto a a Padlet, gave my homework, and then created all these beautiful questions to make the students watch the videos where I was dealing with the Victorian period. This is what I'm teaching today, what I was supposed to teach there, and then I created all of these digital contexts where I was putting lots of AI, as well as because I didn't want my students to only rely on AI while they were learning the concept and of course the period and the books and the contexts that are available in the 18th century in 19th century England and Britain. So this is what we are basically doing. And so in doing so, what we are doing is just creating a video, putting it there for students who like learning that way, put up a reading and then asking questions where the students can, like my colleague Fran suggested, interact with the content rather than just passively listen to what they have to do in a classroom. And then in the next class, I hope next week Monday, we'll have more time to discuss among ourselves what they have already done. So again, inclusive digital communication, this is what we have been doing. And then talking of the principles of multilingual and inclusive digital learning design, we are moving towards, like I said previously, multilingualism as a repertoire to be used in the digital environments, as well as translanguaging as the use of digital pedagogical strategy. Because the technologies are developed, of course, like I said, every 10 years they just vary, they change. And like my colleague friend already suggested, they're just moving from Web 2.0s to 3.0 and today 4.0 technologies. But one thing does not change, which is the essence and the nature of language, which is and the essence and nature of human beings who are relying on of course, their native language or other languages that they already speak within the classroom while they're learning a new language. And then one of these lately developing aspects and approaches is the translanguaging, which we also include into our learning pack for teachers to understand the essence of human nature and of course human communication. And translanguaging as the use of all of these repertoires that these people have, and then they're bringing all this very precious as we all know, information into the tasks and of course digital environment as well, because this is not something new for them. And then of course we also talk about accessibility, which is the essence of the digital pedagogy actually, because without the access, and of course the research also here in this country, in my country, Turkey, for example, shows that 30% of the students do not have basic access to digital technologies, or they don't have it to the level that we want them to have. And this is because of various problems, socioeconomical situations, and this and that. And my own research also shows during the COVID, for example, period, while we were taking off all online and digital education, 11% of the students that we had in our university didn't have basic access to technology. And how were they supposed to come and take care of their classes during this time? It was very difficult, like I said. So we would like to remind the teachers of accessibility before they go and start using digital for anything as well. And of course, also the universal design for learning. Naturally, we are using as a framework to design our classes towards more multilingual education and inclusive education, as well as the core principles. And of course, I'm not going to give all of the information, because what we want you anyway to come and get that training from the program that we are creating for you, everybody. And then we want the teachers to basically learn all of these topics in there and then share it with their colleagues, people who are taking up this course with us as well. So we would like you to all and come and make sure that we are all learning together. And of course, like I said, the equitable access to digital infrastructure, just like accessibility, and what are the strategies to create this equitable access to those environments. We are going to give more examples, and of course, we are going to give some strategies, and of course, some work on this, and to make, like I said previously, awareness on this basically. And then we are also going to talk in our module in Unit 3 about the assistive technologies and, of course, accessibility features that the teachers can actually use to achieve this in their classes, as well as the digital strategies for translanguaging. For example, this is something less worked on, but we would like to take this hard work to actually develop these ideas as well, since the idea of European Union projects is basically to develop good and best practices for teachers all around Europe, and so that they can basically start using those in their classrooms. And then this is a short, very short summary of the whole unit, basically. So what we are going to do is we are going to look into digital inclusion, as you see, look into the digital how we can achieve multilingualism within the digital environments while we are basically teaching, as well as the digital tools like my colleague Fran already suggested, and then how technology enhanced learning can happen in the classrooms by the use of all of these elements, as well as how we can achieve inclusive pedagogy through, like I said, digital environments, and then how the teacher knowledge, basically that, and Fran in the Unit 1 already talked about the TPAC framework that we are basically leaning on. But we are well aware that basically the pedagogical and content knowledge came in 1986 from Schulman, and then 20 years later, with the development of technologies and the internet and everything else, by Punya Mishra and Kohler, they put up the whole teacher knowledge into one framework that is today very widely known as the TPAC technological, pedagogical, and content knowledge framework. So we are leaning towards all of these, like I said, to give the teachers of today across Europe the idea of what knowledge base they should develop, and then we are trying basically to do this within our module with my colleagues from LiTE Academy. And this moves us towards the next unit in the module, which is the digital assessment. This is one of the things which is evolving, which is varying in today's world. And of course, what we are leaning towards is going to be more on, of course, formative assessment rather than only summative assessment, and of course, leaning towards more learning-oriented and dynamic assessment, because this is where the technologies are, and digital technologies and tools are basically helping out the teachers most. And this is also, like I said, one area where we have to put all of the concepts that we have studied throughout the module in here, like designing multilingual and inclusive digital assessment. And what are the strategies to do so? And what are the tools that you can use to do so, basically, right? And of course, the digital assessment tools and strategies in practice is going to be the third basic topic that we will have. And let me just give you a glimpse of what we are going to cover through this unit in our training for teachers. What are some of the digital assessment tools and strategies that we will look into. Like my colleague Frank already gave us some examples from digital tools, but now how we can use them for assessment, and these are the basic this is the basic content that we are going to look into in our module. So we are going to look into the e-portfolios and how we can use them and digital portfolios that we can use for formative assessment purposes. And like Fran already suggested, nothing that is basically not linked to pedagogy works in the classroom. Sometimes technologies are just becoming very fashionable, and what happens is basically they fade away very easily and very quick. I remember 20 years back, I think roughly, where Web 2.0 technologies were just evolving and just spreading all around. And what happens today looks exactly the same with the AI mania and, like I said, the AI tools and variety of all of these tools. The same thing is happening. But if you can link a good pedagogical use of any digital tool can basically work anytime, timelessly, and they will not fade away. We are well aware of this. And then we are also going to look into collaborative and peer assessment tools where the students can come together and create their projects, and then the teachers can evaluate them, as well as the mobile and rapid feedback tools that are available today. And of course, automated writing evaluation, which is very, very fashionable these days because of the artificial intelligence development, especially generative AI, and they are more moving towards agentic AI applications, which are being developed these days by the big companies like ETS for TOEFL and Cambridge and this and that and Pearson, and as well as the speech recognition tools. So we are going to look into those as well, like the computer-based testing platforms that are available today, the teachers can use for more multilingual and inclusive assessment, as well as the AI-assisted assessment, like I already suggested, as well as the dynamic and adaptive assessment. This is what we will be looking into in this unit as well. So this is just a short summary of what we are going to look into the into the unit 5 in our module, which is more about integration of all of these concepts, as well as reflection, and of course the projects that we are going to do. And I'm going to give you a glimpse of what are those capstone projects that we are going to do with all of the participants who are willing to learn more about these technologies that they can help out with the multilingual and inclusive learning. So as you see, the 4 pillars are basically the pedagogy, which we need to link to technologies, right? Or vice versa. Technology needs to be linked to the pedagogy. And here, what we will be doing, like my colleague Fran suggested, we will be looking into task-based learning, autonomy, as well as reflective teaching. And then we will link all of these Web 2.0 tools, digital tools, 3.0 tools, 4.0 tools, and AI, basically with multimodal resources and telecollaboration all together to achieve more inclusion and multilingual and recognize multilinguals in our classes through universal design of learning and translanguaging, and of course accessing the learner diversity, and then put everything together through assessment, and then complete the cycle, as you see, because this is the whole thing coming in together in this unit. And of course, these are not separate layers like we summarize here. They overlap and inform each other because there is a dynamic process going on between all of these different tools and of course aspects that we are already talking about. And of course, the reflection and reflective teaching does not happen just by sitting down and thinking about things. Before that, you need to design your courses, like Fran suggested, by linking the technology with pedagogy, as well as content, and then implement that, right? and then go through the interaction, your lesson designs, your students, yourself, and of course you create a feedback through which creates this cycle and goes into the reflection. So like I said, reflection, we are not taking reflection as sit down and think about things. No, you first do lots of activities like you say, and then sit down to think about the whole process and then what you can redesign, and then of course it starts all over again. So this is basically what we are going to learn about, and what are the strategies for reflection, and how can you use technologies basically that will help you to reflect as a teacher in your classrooms. We are going to learn about those as well. And these are some of the capstone projects that we are going to do in this Unit 5, where we will ask our participants to do a reflecting inquiry report. I'm not going to give you lots of details about these, but just the ideas of what we are going to do to make everybody work on these ideas, and then to create and to link it basically to their own practice, so that they can go with a solid background from this module. And as you have seen, there's a lot of information that we are going to give you, and we would like you also to spend time with that information to create solid outcomes with those capstone projects, basically. And as you have seen, this will take you like 14-15 hours of work, most probably, if not a little bit more, depending on your, of course, preparedness, because we also recognize this. Some people will know more about these concepts, some people will know less about them, and then it will depend on your preparedness, like I said, readiness level, how much time you are going to spend on this. The second thing that we would like you to do basically would be the integrated digital lesson or a project design, which you will link to your own practice, and basically what you can change in your teaching, or how you can implement it with your students. Of course, we will ask you to look into the accessibility and all of these things that we have learned throughout the module, and then we will ask you to do a multimodal or AI enhanced digital resource, create your own resources to customize, and of course your lessons, as well as to create more inclusive lesson experience for your students, because some students will like most definitely learn by audio visual, some will like audios perhaps, and then you can basically create all of these in language classes today, depending on any language, by the use of multimodal and AI the enhanced tools, and then we are going to learn about those anyway. Of course, we will end this Unit 5 with this last capstone project, which is going to be about a digital assessment redesign, which is how you can use digital assessment in your classes with your students, and how you can implement it in your classroom, and how you can basically evaluate your students, well, depending on what you're evaluating, skill or knowledge or whatever. And then we will ask you to create your own digital assessment solutions. And then this is how you're going to end basically this Unit 5 as well. So I think this is Fran, we're moving towards you, okay? And I'll stop sharing.
I can, yeah. So we'll share again.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so thank you very much, Tuncer, and also thank you all for staying with us through this module walkthrough. So now we want to move to the final part of the webinar, which is basically feedback and questions and answers. So for this, we have prepared two open-ended questions, which are designed, as I said at the beginning, for you to reflect on what you have heard today, and also to share your own experience with us. So as I said, 2 questions, and you can use the Q&A option in the webinar to give us your answers. So this is the first question. Or the first situation, the first reflection, which is think of a routine language activity you currently teach. It can be something like grammar drills, vocabulary lists, or a reading exercise or activity. So the question is, how could you redesign it using just one digital tool to make it more interactive or communicative and not something just digital? So this is the first question. So maybe we can give you, I don't know, 1 or 2 minutes, and then I can start reading your answers if you want. And then I will share the second reflection question.
I think if we are not using AI, 2 minutes is okay.
Okay. Yes, and also while you are thinking of your answers, please remember to write your full names because we need them for the certificates of the webinar. So make sure you write your names if they don't appear in your like your Zoom profile because we need them. Thank you. So we have just opened the chat for everybody, so you should be able to write your answers there if you prefer to use this specific tool. So maybe, I don't know, 1 more minute, and we can start revising all those answers you're sharing. Okay, so here we have the first answer, which is I could prepare role cards for recreating a dialogue using the same vocabulary. Yeah, I mean, you can always use like a simple digital tool to create those cards. Yeah, yeah, that's good. Any other ideas that you want to share with us? Yeah, okay, so to make reading comprehension more interactive, you can use AI to divide the text into several parts and generate an information gap for each part. So the students then mingle and they have to talk to each other to find the missing information for their paragraph. Yeah, that's good. That's also a good idea. And instead of using reading and repeating the vocabulary lists, using Canva, for example, to create a sort of like a two type narrative to turn the list into a crazy story. Yeah, I mean, all these are quite interesting activities. So it's basically the idea what we have been discussing throughout the webinar is just thinking of your goal. Like if your goal is like a reading comprehension activity to practice, I don't know, speaking, to practice dialogues with your students, is just using or having in mind that goal, and then taking advantage of a specific tool just to help you make it more not only attractive but also more interactive for students, also to provide them with opportunities for multimodality, using what you already know, like in a more traditional setting, let's say, but using digital technology. Yeah. We have another one here, which is we could use Padlet in our classroom to practice grammar. Students could anonymously write their sentence in a specific structure, and their peers could correct each other in case there are any grammatical mistakes. Yeah, this one is quite good because sometimes students may prefer not to participate if they, I mean, because they may feel like not comfortable with making mistakes. But if you use like an activity like this in which they can post their answers like anonymously, that may create a more let's say comfortable or safer environment for them to practice and to participate in the class. Yeah, that's a good idea. Yep. And the last one, yeah, I'm going to read the last one, and then we will move to the second question. So thank you, yeah, thank you for listening to us. You're a student of German language teaching, and one of your assignments is to choose a teaching method and implement it in our classroom. So you're supposed, and you, sorry, I can yeah, here. And you apply the three-step interview method, which is a method entirely focused on encouraging conversation. So at the end, you summarize what was discussed by creating a diagram on the board. And if we hadn't had time constraints, using Padlet would have been, much more beneficial. Yeah, yeah, that's good. But it's it's a good idea. It's a good idea. Okay. And then we're going to move to the second question. Because we don't want to, miss the time all the time for the webinar. So the second question is this one, which again you can answer using the chat or the Q&A tool. So in your experience or in your context, what is the biggest challenge to integrating technology in language teaching? Like, for example, is it something more related to access, to time, to engagement of the students, to assessment? And what is one small strategy you have used, or if you haven't, you want to try to overcome that challenge? So let us know your I don't know, experiences with these challenges. Sorry, I have just seen that there's a hand up. So maybe it was related to the first question. So if you want to like speak or write your answer, you can do it before we answer this second question. So I think it's Diana. So if you want to answer, you can use your microphone, or if not, you can, I mean, feel free to use the chat. Yeah. Oh, it's okay. It's okay. Don't worry. Okay, so we were talking about this second question, which is basically, the challenges associated with using technology and ways to or strategies to overcome it. So here we have one intervention that says, in my experience, technology makes the teaching more interesting, especially visually. Yeah, so no challenges identified in this intervention, but I'm sure you have sometimes found problems with using technology. I'm sure, because I mean, I have when using it. So for example, now here, I mean, it's probably a silly challenge or problem, but I am like sharing my screen, but then I need to pay attention to the questions on the chat, the questions to the questions of the the tool for questions and answers. So it's like a lot of things to do with just using one specific tool. So it's probably not related to access, probably not related to engagement because you are participating, but it's probably more related to my own, let's say, abilities to manage different things at the same time. I mean, just a silly example. So we have another one here. So students' engagement is a challenging aspect because if we don't prepare the activities clearly and make them as interactive as possible, they will not be effective. So integrating tools or technology doesn't always work when the preparation is not well planned. Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with that. I mean, is what we have been discussing in the webinar. You need to obviously select your goals and then choose the tool, but obviously everything needs to be very well planned, because if not, it may be, I mean, it can be a disaster sometimes when using technology. So my way of overcoming this issue is to prepare several alternative options in advance. Yeah, that's always a good option to do, not only when using technology, obviously, but with whatever activity you have prepared for your class. It's always good to have alternatives. Yep, that's good. So let's see more. So in my experience, the most significant barrier isn't just access to hardware, but time. Yeah, totally agree. So teachers often feel overwhelmed by the steep learning curve, requiring to master new platforms while simultaneously managing lesson planning and students' assessment. Yes, a lot of things. I mean, one part or one side of our job as teachers is like managing, as I said before, managing a lot of things at the same time. So if you also have to be controlling technology in that situation, that may be even more challenging, even more time consuming, more complex. Yeah. So there is often a fear that that technology will distract from the linguistic goals rather than support them, leading to technology fatigue. Yeah, for both the teacher and the students. Yeah, totally agree with that. So my biggest challenge is access and time. So I teach primary, so sometimes our internet access, I mean, internet access, it's I would say is one of the biggest challenges, because you may have prepared something super interesting, something super engaging for your students, but if your computer or your internet fails, it's like, I mean, there's nothing you can do. I mean, other than obviously do something more traditional. So yeah, it's sometimes quite difficult to overcome that barrier. So besides, my classes are usually 1 hour long. So when I want to do something different, I join a colleague from a different subject and we do the activity together. Yeah, that's a very nice and interesting way to do. Collaboration with colleagues is always, something positive, not only for us as teachers, but also for students. Yep. In my experience, one of the biggest challenges in integrating technology into language teaching is access to devices. Yep, again. So you work online and you use different websites and digital tools to teach your students. However, some students only use their cell phones, and this sometimes makes it difficult for them to participate comfortably in certain activities. Yeah. That's also, let's say like a problematic situation. Yeah. And I think maybe all of us have sometime experienced that, probably not as teachers, but also probably as students. Sometimes, online teaching requires maybe not a laptop, but maybe a tablet. And when students are using only their cell phones, obviously, yeah, there's, like a part of the activity that is going to be more difficult, more problematic for them to do. And sometimes what they may do is simply disconnect from the activity and not doing it. Yep. So as a teacher candidate, in my opinion, the biggest challenge is attention span, because most of the students have shorter attention span comparing to previous generations. Yeah, definitely. And there's actually, research explaining or demonstrating that, especially after the pandemic, after the lockdown, and after all these like increase of the time we spend in front of a screen, is actually affecting our attention span. So as a teacher, we might use some transition songs to help them focus and refresh their attention span. Yeah, that's quite interesting, and also probably, or most definitely, quite engaging for them. So we have limited class time and different students' digital skills. Yeah, also the digital, competence of students is also quite problematic. Okay, so I'm seeing that we have like a lot of interventions, and we are, super happy that you are being so participative in the webinar. But we're afraid we might need to, finish with this activity. But obviously, we will keep all those questions, and we will try to, maybe we can answer you via email, or we will see. Okay, but we have your questions and your interventions, and we really appreciate them. So now, before we finish, we have, maybe 2 more minutes, no more than that, for you to ask other questions if you want. I don't know,
Fran,
related to the content. Yep, yep.
I think we have an important question here.
Uh-huh.
Would you like me to go with that,
Yeah,
Nesrin
sure.
Bal's question? But the first one is, I forgot who was, somebody asked about if technology or AI basically is important in language learning. My answer to this is generally, it is not important, it is inevitable. It is only because, like you in your first, I think, slide, you said something like things that are already in life, they also need to be in the classroom. So AI is in our lives anyway, so it has to be in the classroom too. And this is why it is inevitable. Importance is another question, but I think that being inevitable is more important, and so you can't escape that. I think. Let me just continue with Nesrin's question. She has three questions basically. One of which is the assessment section emphasizes ethical and fair evaluation. However, in AI-supported learning environments, is this truly fair assessment actually possible? Okay, Fran, would you go back to my slide in digital assessment, and then there is the answer to this question, basically, Nesrin Hocam. One more, please. One more. One more. It's exactly here. So as you see in this, and th this is a deliberately, I created this deliberately, this visual here, a lady who's basically had digital evaluation, and now she has and does her own evaluation based on the digital eval. So do you see the answer, Nesrin Hocam here? We have, of course, AI assessment, but of course we need to work and collaborate with it as human teachers to be truly fair towards our students, because AI can only see what is in the paper, for what is in the exam, but we as teachers see more than that. We see the where the student started, we see where the student is at, and then we can also predict where the student is going through these assessments. So I think this is a good answer to your question about fairness. Your second question is about multilingualism and translanguaging appear to be supported. However, most digital platforms remain English dominated. Does this create a contradiction within the model? I think no. And the answer to this is no, because there is no contradiction, because it all depends on the way you are using. If you are teaching English, let's say, and then you are using translanguaging with the tools, AI, whatever, through the English medium tools, but then think that you are teaching Portuguese, think that you are teaching Turkish, and then you are leaning towards the use of those languages within AI. So I think it depends on, and the answer here is, I think it depends. If you are teaching English, of course, you're doomed with English only, but if you are also using other languages, which today I think generative AI can use more languages than only English, of course, it is given. 55% of what is available on internet is in English. That's given, no question about it. But there are also tools that can manage other languages too. And the last question that you have asked was, does the promotion of learner autonomy through digital tools actually encourage independence, or does it create new forms of dependency on algorithms and AI? Well, this is I think, very long a discussion about all of that. See, but the simple answer to this would be, it again depends on how you're using the tools for autonomous learning. And if you are letting and leaving your students with the AI or with these digital tools only, and then you have zero evaluation, you have zero interaction with your students, of course, you're just leaving them towards another dependency. But I think as a teacher, if you are giving them feedbacks, if you are also helping them out even while they're independently working, and your teaching presence, because in the end of the day, you're the designer of all that autonomous learning experience. And if you can make them feel your presence through the design of the activities and what follows after and this and that, I think you are not leaving them to the algorithms or AI. So this is my answer. Because while you're teaching digitally, or while you're in this digital learning business, the teaching presence, as well as cognitive presence, as well as the educational presence, all of these things are basically coming together to create the best experience. So like I said, if you can create teaching presence and design your own path for your students, then you are not leaving them to anybody, but it's only your plan. It's only the execution of what you have planned for them initially. So I think this is an answer to you. And for I think Ergün Yılmaz question about how to use AI supported and multilingual pedagogies to be effective in the young learner preschool and primary school setting, while still keeping communication natural, playful, and student-centered. I think there is a solution to this, which is keeping the interaction between technology and your students basically as natural as possible. And as long as we keep that natural communication, I think it's very easy to basically apply it in there. So of course, I understand that we have to be super careful about the use of technologies, and as well as AI technologies and tools within the students, with young learners. But again, my answer to this would be, it is inevitable, because this way or the other, they are already interacting with it while they're using their own tablets or whatever at home. So it is, again, inevitable. So we have to find pedagogies to basically go through this the process with them, I think, and this is where I'm stopping. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Tuncer, and also thank you to all participants for your interventions and questions. And before we finish with the webinar, we would like to remind you about the following webinars we are having as part of this webinar series. So these these are, the ones you can see like less colorful, we could say, are the ones we have already celebrated, we could say, the one 2 weeks ago, and the second one is today's webinar. So the following one will be on May 26th, and this one will be about inclusive, how to build inclusive language classrooms. Then we have another one on the 2nd of June, which is about multilingual pedagogies in practice, which is another one of the modules that we have developed as part of the LiTE Academy. Then on June 16th, we will have one specific webinar about assessment. So we will go a little bit deeper on what Tuncer has described some minutes ago. And finally, we will have another one on the 29th of June, which is about how to design language learning tasks for the inclusion or the combination of digital, inclusive, and multilingual settings in our classrooms. And also, we would like to remind you, because you have probably seen this in the schedule of the webinars, we have one, let's say, a special webinar on the 11th of June, which is this doctoral colloquium on digital, inclusive, and multilingual pedagogies. But please have in mind that this one is, the target of this webinar is for PhD students from the doctoral program Lenguas y Culturas from the University of Córdoba. You are more than welcome to join this webinar, but it will be mostly for them. We will be working and discussing on their PhD thesis, also obviously connecting to the topics of this project, the LiTE Academy project. So again, thank you very much for your participation. Now, when we close the webinar, you will be able to access the feedback form. It's a super short survey that we kindly ask you to answer, because it's quite useful for us. If not, my colleagues have already sent the survey link in the chat. You can also use that link if you prefer. So we have a question here just for Uko. Yes, because it's directly connected to this specific PhD program. You can join us if you want, but it will be, you can listen to to the discussions, obviously. But yeah, obviously you can, you or whoever wants, they can join. And obviously, if you are doing a PhD, you can also participate. Yes, for sure. Yep. Oh, super. So, if you are interested in participating, why not? So what you can do in the same program. So yes, yeah. The Lenguas y Culturas program is, not only for the UCO students, but different universities. So yeah, you can participate, obviously. Yeah. So once again, thank you very much. Please remember fill in the survey. It's just 3 questions, super quick. And thank you very much for participating. And we will meet again in 2 weeks' time. So have a lovely evening and have a lovely weeks, and see you soon.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, so take care.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Fran and Tuncer, for the presentations. Wonderful job, and thank you, everyone.